The pup shouldn't have been alive. Blood matted its fur. Eyes glowing with something ancient. And it was on my doorstep. I'm Sarah. The Omega they threw away 3 years ago. Broken. Worthless. Rejected. But when I touched that pup, everything changed. Now they keep coming. 1 pup. 5 pups. 26 pups. All of them refusing to leave. All of them looking at me like I'm their salvation. The council says I'm dangerous. The Alpha King says I'm his destiny. And a necromancer just called me the most valuable wolf alive. I don't know what I am. But I know this, they're coming for me. They're coming for the pups. And in 3 weeks, I'll either save them all, or watch everything I love burn. Hello, my beautiful pack. Welcome back to the channel, or if you're new here, welcome to the family. Before we dive into today's story, I want to know, where in the world are you watching from? Drop your location in the comments. I love seeing how far our pack reaches. And hey, how are you doing today? I hope you're ready, because this story is going to grip you from the first word and not let go. Oh, and if you haven't already subscribed, please hit that subscribe button and turn on notifications. You don't want to miss what happens next in this one. Trust me, you won't regret it. Now, let's begin. The pup shouldn't have been alive. Sarah knew at the moment she saw it on her doorstep, for matted black with blood that wasn't its own, eyes glowing with something that made her wolf recoil in her chest. Not fear. Recognition. No, she whispered, backing away from the open door. Not you. Not here. The pup tilted its head, and for a heartbeat, Sarah saw something ancient looking back at her through those 2 knowing eyes. Then it whimpered, small, pitiful, and collapsed. Her body moved before her mind could stop it. She scooped the pup into her arms, and the moment her skin touched its fur, she felt it a jolt like lightning up her spine, a thread of connection snapping into place with an audible click in her soul. The pup's eyes fluttered open. It licked her wrist once. And Sarah's world inverted. She came to on the floor, the pup nestled against her chest, her entire body trembling. What just happened? The cabin was exactly as she'd left it. 1 room, crumbling walls, furniture salvaged from the pack's garbage heaps. The prison they'd given her after the rejection. After Alpha Garrett had stood before the entire pack and declared her defective, broken, unworthy of a wolf's name. 3 years she'd survived here. 3 years of silence. Until tonight. Sarah looked down at the pup. It was asleep now, breathing steady, the blood on its fur already drying. She should clean it. She should figure out where it came from. She should be terrified. Instead, she felt complete. For the first time since the rejection carved a hole in her chest, she felt whole. What are you? She whispered. The pup didn't answer. But somewhere in the back of her mind, a door she hadn't known existed creaked open, and a voice that wasn't hers whispered back. Mine. The second pup arrived 3 nights later. No warning. No sound. One moment Sarah was alone, the next a small gray wolf was sitting in the middle of her floor, staring at her with eyes too intelligent for its age. How did you get in? The door was locked. The window was closed. The pup yawned. Sarah's heart hammered. You need to leave. Both of you. I can't, this isn't safe. But even as she said it, she knew it was a lie. Because the moment the gray pup had appeared, that same thread of connection had snapped into place. Click. Like pieces of a puzzle she hadn't known she was solving. By the end of the week, there were 5 pups. By the end of the month, 11. They came from nowhere. They came from everywhere. Different sizes, different colors, different scents that spoke of packs Sarah had never heard of. Some arrived injured. Some arrived starving. All of them arrived with that same look in their eyes. I've been searching for you. And all of them refused to leave. Sarah stopped asking questions after the 15th pup. She stopped wondering why and focused on how to feed them, how to hide them, how to keep them safe in a territory that had already decided she was worthless. She hunted in wolf form at night, taking down prey too large for an Omega alone but somehow managing it anyway. She stole blankets from the pack's donation pile during the new moon. She learned to move like a ghost, invisible, forgettable. The one thing the rejection had taught her, how to disappear. But the pups made her visible again. She could feel them even when they weren't near. Feel their hunger, their fear, their joy. Threads of connection that bound them to her soul, growing stronger every day. And with each new thread, something inside Sarah woke up. Her wolf, silent for 3 years, began to stir. Her senses sharpened. Her strength returned. It was like she'd been living half alive, and the pups were breathing life back into her one breath at a time. But that wasn't the strangest part. The strangest part was the dreams. Every night, Sarah dreamed of wolves. Not the pups. Not her old pack. Ancient wolves. Massive, primal, their fur glowing silver under a moon that seemed too large, too close. They ran through forests that no longer existed, across lands that had been swallowed by time. And they were all running toward her. No, not her. Toward what she carried. In the dreams, Sarah would look down and see her hands glowing with the same silver light. See threads, thousands of them stretching out from her chest into the darkness, connecting her to wolves she couldn't see but could feel. A network. A web. A bond. And then, always, the dream would shift. She would see him. A wolf larger than the others, fur black as midnight, eyes molten gold. He stood at the center of the web, and every thread ran through him like he was the axis point of the world. When he looked at her, she felt seen in a way that terrified her. Like he knew every secret she'd ever buried. Like he'd been waiting for her. She always woke before he could speak. The hunters came on the night of the blood moon. Sarah smelled them first, strangers, their scents laced with violence and greed. She woke with a gasp, her wolf surging to the surface with a snarl. Danger. The pups were already awake, huddled together in the corner, eyes wide. They felt it too. Sarah moved to the window and peered out. 6 wolves circled her cabin, their movements coordinated, predatory. Not from her pack. Their scents were wrong, tangled, corrupt, like they'd been eating flesh that should have been left alone. Rogues. Her blood turned to ice. Rogues didn't come this far into pack territory. Not unless they were hunting something valuable. One of them shifted, a man with scars crisscrossing his face and teeth filed to points. He grinned at the cabin like he could see through the walls. Come out, little Omega, he called. We just want to talk. Sarah's wolf howled inside her chest. She backed away from the window, mind racing. She couldn't fight 6 rogues. She could barely fight one. And if they got to the pups? The door exploded inward. Sarah threw herself in front of the pups as the scarred man stepped inside, his grin widening. There you are. His eyes swept over the pups, and something hungry flickered in his gaze. My. The rumors were true. You really are collecting them. Get out, Sarah snarled, her voice barely human. Can't do that, sweetheart. See, there's a bounty on your head. Well, not your head exactly. He tilted his head. More like, what you are. Ice flooded Sarah's veins. I don't know what you're talking about. No? He laughed. Then why can every lost pup in 5 territories feel you? Why do they follow your scent like you're their mother, their moon, their God's damned salvation? The pups whimpered behind her. Sarah's hands trembled. They're just pups. They don't mean anything. Liar. The rogue's eyes flashed. You're a shepherd. The first one in 200 years. And there are wolves who would pay fortunes to own you. To control what you can do. Shepherd. The word rang through her like a bell, and suddenly the dreams made sense. The threads. The connections. The power thrumming beneath her skin. I'm not going anywhere with you, Sarah said quietly. That's cute. The rogue stepped closer. But you don't really have a... He never finished the sentence. Because the window shattered, and a wolf the size of a bear exploded into the cabin. Black fur. Golden eyes. The wolf from her dreams. He hit the rogue with enough force to cave in his ribs, jaws closing around his throat before he could scream. Blood sprayed across the floor. The other rogues burst through the door, snarling. And froze. Because the black wolf turned to face them, and the power rolling off him made the air crack and splinter. Sarah felt it like a physical blow. Felt her wolf drop to the ground in submission even as her human mind screamed at her to run. Alpha. Not just an alpha. The alpha. One of the rogues whimpered. Alpha King. The black wolf's growl cut him off. It was a sound that promised death. The rogues ran. And then, slowly, the massive wolf turned to look at Sarah. She couldn't move. Couldn't breathe. He shifted. The man who stood before her was built like violence incarnate, all sharp edges and brutal strength, scars mapping his skin like a history written in pain. But it was his eyes that held her captive. Gold. Ancient. Knowing. You, he said, his voice rough as stone, are coming with me. It wasn't a question. It was a command. And Sarah, despite every instinct screaming at her to refuse, felt that invisible thread snap into place between them. Click. Stronger than all the others combined. Who are you? She whispered. His mouth curved into something sharp. Something dangerous. Cale Thorne. Alpha King of the Northern Territories. He stepped closer, and Sarah's wolf keened in her chest. And you, little shepherd, just became the most valuable wolf alive. Behind her, the pups whined. Cale's gaze flicked to them, and his expression shifted into something Sarah couldn't read. How many? He asked quietly. 23, she heard herself say. His eyes snapped back to hers. 23? They keep coming. I don't know why. I don't know how to stop it. You can't. He moved closer still, until she could feel the heat radiating off his skin. Because you're not supposed to. You're a Luna shepherd, Sarah. You call to the lost. The abandoned. The broken. And they will follow you to the ends of the earth. That's not possible. I'm nothing. You're everything. His hand caught her chin, forcing her to meet his eyes. And there are wolves who would burn the world to possess that power. Which is why you're not staying here. I'm not leaving my home. This isn't your home. His voice dropped. This is your cage. And I'm breaking you out. Outside, howls split the night. More of them. Closer. Cale's jaw clenched. We're out of time. Gather the pups. We leave now. I don't even know you. No. His eyes burned into hers. But you dream of me. Don't you? Sarah's heart stopped. Every night, Cale continued, his voice soft, deadly. You see me at the center of the web. You feel the bond trying to form. And you wake up before it can complete. How do you? Because I dream of you too, shepherd. His thumb brushed her jaw. I've been dreaming of you for months. And I'm done waiting. The howls came again. Dozens of them. An army. Cale's hand dropped. Trust me or don't. But if you stay here, you die. And every pup in this cabin dies with you. Sarah looked at the 23 pups huddled together, looking at her with absolute faith. She looked at the Alpha King who'd just slaughtered a rogue to save her. She looked at the threads of light she could suddenly see connecting them all. And she made her choice. We go together, she said. All of us. Or none of us. Cale's smile was sharp as a blade. All of you it is. He shifted, and Sarah watched in awe as the massive black wolf lowered himself to the ground. Climb on. The voice echoed in her mind, not hers, not quite his, but something between them. The bond. Sarah looked at the pups. Hold on to me. Don't let go. They swarmed her immediately, climbing onto her back, her shoulders, clinging with tiny claws. And when she climbed onto the Alpha King's back, when she felt his power surge beneath her, the threads ignited. Every connection she'd forged with the pups blazed to life, and suddenly Sarah could feel everything. Their fear. Their hope. Their absolute trust in her. And beneath it all, thrumming like a second heartbeat. Him. Cale launched through the broken window, and the world became a blur of speed and moonlight and the sound of wolves howling for their blood. But Sarah wasn't afraid anymore. Because for the first time in 3 years, she wasn't alone. And something told her. This was only the beginning. The Alpha King ran like the forest was his to command. Trees blurred past in streaks of black and silver. The pups clung to Sarah's back, their tiny claws digging into her skin, but she barely felt it. All she could feel was him, the raw power thrumming beneath her, the way his muscles coiled and released with predatory grace. And the bond. Gods, the bond. It pulsed between them like a living thing, growing stronger with every leap, every breath. She could feel his determination, his fury, the ice-cold calculation running beneath his protective instincts. He was hunting even as he ran. Where are we going? She tried to project the thought, testing the connection. His response came immediately, smooth as smoke in her mind, somewhere they can't follow. Who are they? Everyone. Not reassuring. Behind them, the howls grew distant, then faded entirely. But Cale didn't slow. He ran for another hour, putting miles between them and the cabin, between them and whatever army had been closing in. Finally, he stopped at the edge of a cliff overlooking a valley Sarah had never seen before. He shifted, and she tumbled off his back, the pups scattering around her feet. "We're safe," Cale said, his voice rough. "For now." Sarah stood on shaking legs, looking around. The valley below was lush, untouched, hidden by mountains on all sides. A river cut through its center like a silver vein. "Where are we?" "Neutral ground. No pack claims this territory." He turned to face her, and in the moonlight, he looked less like a king and more like a warrior who'd seen too many battles. "We rest here tonight. Tomorrow, we move again." "Move where?" "My territory. The northern mountains." His golden eyes swept over the pups, counting. "You'll be protected there." "Protected from what?" Sarah demanded. Her fear was giving way to anger now, hot and sharp. "You show up, slaughter a rogue, tell me I'm some kind of mythical creature, and drag me into the woods with 23 pups. I think I deserve answers." Cale studied her for a long moment. Then, surprisingly, he smiled. It transformed his face, softening the brutal edges. "You have fire," he said. "Good. You'll need it." "That's not an answer." "No." He moved closer, and Sarah forced herself not to back away. "But it's the truth. What do you know about Luna shepherds?" "Nothing. I've never even heard the term until tonight." "That's because your pack tried to bury what you are." His jaw tightened. Luna shepherds are born once in a generation, if that. They carry a gift, the ability to bond with wolves across pack lines, especially the young, the lost, the vulnerable. The bond heals them, protects them, gives them belonging. Sarah looked at the pups gathered around her feet. "That's why they came to me." "Yes. Your wolf was calling to them." "Probably has been since your first shift, but it was suppressed." He paused. The rejection would have damaged the gift, tried to smother it. But it survived. And now? Now it's awake. And every wolf with young blood or a broken bond can feel you like a beacon. Cale's expression darkened. "Which makes you incredibly valuable. And incredibly dangerous." "To who?" "To everyone. Packs could use you to steal pups from rivals. Rogues could use you to build armies. Alphas could use you to consolidate power across territories." His voice dropped. "There hasn't been a shepherd in 2 centuries. The last one started a war that nearly destroyed our kind." Sarah's stomach twisted. What happened to her? She was torn apart by the packs fighting to possess her. Silence fell between them, heavy as stone. One of the pups, the small black one with the notched ear, whimpered and pressed against Sarah's leg. She bent down instinctively, scooping him into her arms. "I won't let that happen to you," Cale said quietly. She looked up at him, searching his face. "Why? You don't know me." "No." Something flickered in his eyes. "But I know what it's like to be hunted for what you are instead of who you are." There was a story there, buried beneath scars and silence. Before Sarah could ask, another voice cut through the night. Well. The rumors are true." Sarah spun. A woman stood at the edge of the clearing, her silver hair braided down her back, eyes sharp as cut glass. She wore leather armor that had seen combat, and the sword at her hip wasn't decorative. But it was her scent that made Sarah's wolf bristle, power, old and wild, laced with something that tasted like prophecy. Mira, Kale said, his voice flat. You're late. I'm fashionably on time, as always. The woman's gaze swept over Sarah, assessing, calculating. So this is the shepherd everyone's losing their minds over. This is Sarah, Kale corrected, his tone sharp. And you'll show respect. Mira raised an eyebrow but inclined her head. Sarah, then. I'm Mira Blackthorn, Kale's second and the wolf who's going to keep you alive long enough to figure out what you're really capable of. Comforting, Sarah muttered. Mira grinned. I like her already. She looked at Kale. The council is convening. They know about her. Kale swore under his breath. How? Does it matter? Word spread fast. Every alpha from here to the coast is demanding answers. Myra's expression sobered. Some are calling for her to be bound. Others want her destroyed. And a few. She paused. A few want to claim her. Over my dead body, Kale growled. The bond between them flared, and Sarah gasped as possessive fury crashed through her, emotions that weren't hers but felt right at home in her chest. Mine, his wolf snarled in her mind. Mine to protect. Myra's eyes widened. Oh. Oh, that's interesting. Mira, Kale warned. The bond's already forming, isn't it? I can see it. She looked between them, something like wonder crossing her face. Do you know what this means? It means nothing, Kale snapped. It means everything, Mira countered. A shepherd hasn't bonded with an alpha king in recorded history. If you two complete the bond, you won't just be protecting her. You'll be creating something new. Something powerful enough to unite the territories or shatter them completely. Sarah's heart hammered. I didn't agree to any of this. Neither did he, Mira said gently. True bonds aren't chosen. They just are. Kale's hand found Sarah's shoulder, and the touch sent heat spiraling through her. We deal with the council first. Everything else comes after. And if they decide I'm too dangerous? Sarah asked. His golden eyes locked with hers, fierce and unwavering. Then they'll have to go through me. The pups howled softly, a chorus of agreement. And Sarah realized, standing in that moonlit clearing with an alpha king she barely knew and a bond she didn't understand, that her life would never be simple again. But for the first time since the rejection, she didn't feel broken. She felt chosen. The council met at dawn in a place that shouldn't exist. Sarah stood at the edge of a massive stone amphitheater carved into the mountain itself, watching as alphas from across the territories filed in like predators circling prey. The air thrummed with power so thick it made her teeth ache. Kale stood beside her, a wall of silent fury. Stay close, he murmured. Don't speak unless spoken to. And whatever happens, don't show fear. Easy for you to say, Sarah whispered back. You're not the one on trial. You're not on trial. His hand found the small of her back, steady, grounding. You're being evaluated. There's a difference. Feels the same from where I'm standing. Mira appeared on her other side, armed to the teeth. 20 alphas, 12 betas, and about 50 wolves who'd gut you for sport if Kale wasn't here. Should be fun. You have a twisted definition of fun. I really do. Myra's grin was sharp. Just remember, you're not prey. You're a shepherd. Act like it. Before Sarah could respond, a voice boomed across the amphitheater. Kale Thorne. You've called an emergency session. Speak. The alpha who'd spoken was massive, his gray-streaked hair pulled back, scars crisscrossing his bare chest. Alpha Darius of the Eastern Packs. Sarah recognized him from stories, brutal, efficient, and utterly without mercy. Kale stepped forward, pulling Sarah with him. I found a Luna shepherd, he said simply. The amphitheater erupted. Voices shouted over each other, accusations and demands blending into chaos. Sarah's wolf cowered in her chest, overwhelmed by the aggression saturating the air. Then Kale growled, and the sound cut through the noise like a blade. Silence fell instantly. She's under my protection, Kale continued, his voice cold as winter. Anyone who touches her answers to me. Your protection doesn't extend beyond your territory, a female alpha called out. She was younger, dark-haired, with eyes like green ice. The shepherd belongs to all packs, not just yours. She belongs to no one, Kale snapped. Then why is your scent all over her? The female alpha smiled, showing teeth. Why can we smell the bond forming? Sarah's breath caught. Could they really sense it? Alpha Rhiannon raises a valid point, Darius said, his gaze calculating. A shepherd bonded to an alpha king creates an imbalance of power. She could be used to control packs, steal loyalty, build an empire. I'm not building anything, Sarah said before she could stop herself. Every eye in the amphitheater turned to her. Kale's hand tightened on her back in warning, but Sarah stepped forward anyway. If they were going to decide her fate, she wouldn't be silent. I didn't ask for this gift, she continued, her voice stronger now. I didn't ask for pups to find me or bonds to form. I was rejected, cast out, left to die. And I survived. That's all I've been trying to do. Survive. Touching, Rhiannon said, her tone mocking. But survival doesn't change what you are. Or what you could become. What I could become. Sarah's anger flared hot. You mean a weapon? A tool? Something to be controlled and used? If necessary, Darius said bluntly. The last shepherd nearly destroyed us. We won't make that mistake again. She's not the last shepherd, Kale said, his voice deadly quiet. And you won't touch her. You don't give orders here, Kale, another alpha said, standing. He was older, his face weathered. We all have equal say. Then say it, Kale challenged. What do you want? To bind her? Kill her? Lock her away and pretend she doesn't exist? We want assurance, Darius said. That she won't be used against us. By who? Me? Kale's laugh was bitter. I'm trying to protect her. Or claim her, Rhiannon countered. Complete the bond, and you'll have access to every vulnerable wolf in the territories. You could build an army of loyal followers in months. The accusation hung in the air like poison. Sarah's heart pounded. Was that what this was? Had Kale saved her just to use her? No, the bond whispered. He's not lying. But doubt crept in anyway. I propose a test, Darius said suddenly. Kale went rigid. What kind of test? Let her prove she can control the gift. Let her call a pup here, now, and then release it without forming a permanent bond. Darius's eyes glinted. If she can't, she's too dangerous to live free. That's insane, Mira snapped. She's barely had the gift active for a month. Then she'll fail, Rhiannon said simply. And we'll know she needs to be contained. Sarah's blood turned cold. And if I succeed? Then you earn the right to exist, Darius said. Under supervision. No, Kale growled. I won't let you experiment on her like some kind of lab rat. It's not your choice, Darius shot back. It's hers. All eyes turned to Sarah. She looked at Kale, saw the fury and fear warring in his golden eyes. Looked at the council, saw the suspicion and calculation. Looked at the threads of light only she could see, connecting her to the 23 pups hidden in the valley below. If she refused, they'd see her as a threat. If she failed, they'd see her as a danger. But if she succeeded? I'll do it, Sarah said quietly. Sarah, no, Kale started. She met his gaze. I have to. You know I do. For a long moment, he just stared at her. Then, slowly, he nodded. Fine, he said, his voice rough. But I stay with her. Agreed, Darius said. He gestured to the center of the amphitheater. Begin. Sarah walked forward on shaking legs, feeling the weight of dozens of wolves watching her every move. She closed her eyes and reached for the gift, for the part of her that called to the lost. Come, she whispered into the void. I need you. Nothing happened. Sweat beaded on her forehead. She pushed harder, felt the thread straining, searching. Please. Just one. Just for a moment. Still nothing. Behind her, she heard Rhiannon laugh softly. She can't even control it. This is pointless. Panic clawed at Sarah's throat. Why wasn't it working? The pups had always come before, always answered her call without hesitation. Then she realized she'd never called them before. They'd found her because they were lost, broken, searching for something she naturally provided. But forcing the gift, commanding it, that was different. That required trust. Not just in the gift. In herself. Sarah opened her eyes and looked at Kale. He stood at the edge of the circle, every muscle tense, ready to fight the entire council if they moved against her. The bond between them pulsed, steady and strong. "You're not alone," it whispered. Sarah took a breath and reached for the gift again. But this time, she didn't command. She invited. "If you're out there," she called gently. "If you're lost and scared and searching, I'm here. You don't have to come. But I'll keep you safe if you do." The air shimmered. And a pup appeared in the center of the amphitheater. Gasps echoed around them. It was tiny, barely old enough to shift, its white fur stained with dirt. It looked around with wide, terrified eyes until it saw Sarah. Then it ran straight to her. Sarah caught it, felt the bond snap into place, click. The pup trembled in her arms, and she could feel everything, its hunger, its fear, the memory of being separated from its mother during a rogue attack 3 days ago. "Now release it," Darius commanded. Sarah's throat tightened. "Release it?" The bond was already formed, already strengthening with every second. "I can't," she whispered. "You must," Darius said coldly. "Or you prove you're too dangerous." Tears burned Sarah's eyes. The pup looked up at her with absolute trust, and the thought of severing that connection felt like ripping out her own heart. But she had no choice. "I'm sorry," she told the pup silently. "I'm so sorry." She reached for the thread connecting them and pulled. The bond resisted, clinging, desperate. She pulled harder, and the pup screamed, a sound of pure agony that shattered something inside her. But the bond held. Because it wasn't just her bond anymore. It was the pup's too. And you couldn't release someone who didn't want to be let go. Sarah looked up at the council, tears streaming down her face. "I can't," she said again. "Because it's not just my choice. It's his too." Darius's expression hardened. "Then you've failed." "No," Kale said, stepping into the circle. "She's proven exactly what we needed to know." He looked at the council, his eyes blazing. "The gift isn't about control. It's about connection. And Sarah just showed you she won't abuse it, even to save herself." He turned to Sarah, something fierce and proud in his gaze. "She's not the danger here. You are." The amphitheater erupted again. And through the chaos, through the shouting and threats, Sarah heard one voice rise above the rest. "The shepherd and the pup will be taken into custody. For their own protection." Kale shifted instantly, a roar tearing from his throat. And the council descended. Blood sprayed across ancient stone. Kale's wolf tore through the first beta who reached for Sarah, jaws crushing bone with a sickening crack. 2 more lunged at him from opposite sides, but Mira was already there, her blade flashing silver in the dawn light. "Get her out!" Mira screamed. But Sarah couldn't move. She stood frozen, the white pup clutched to her chest, watching as the amphitheater transformed into a battlefield. Wolves shifted, claws extended, the air thick with snarls and the copper tang of blood. The council alphas hadn't moved yet, they were watching, calculating, waiting to see if Kale would actually fight them all. He would. Sarah could feel it through the bond, his absolute conviction that he'd burn the world before letting them take her. "Run," his voice commanded in her mind. "Sarah, run now." A wolf broke through the chaos, heading straight for her. Sarah's body finally obeyed, she turned and sprinted toward the amphitheater's edge, the pup bouncing in her arms. Behind her, Kale's roar shook the mountain itself. She didn't make it 10 feet. Alpha Rhiannon appeared in front of her, human form, arms crossed. "Going somewhere, shepherd?" "Please," Sarah gasped. "I don't want this. I don't want any of this." What you want stopped mattering the moment that gift woke up. Rhiannon's green eyes were cold. "You're too dangerous to roam free. Surely you understand that." "I understand you're terrified of something you can't control." Rhiannon's smile was sharp as broken glass. "Smart girl." "Yes, I am. Because the last shepherd chose an alpha, bonded with him, and together they convinced half the territories to follow them into a war that killed thousands. Including my parents. The words hit Sarah like a physical blow. I'm not her. No. You're worse. Rhiannon stepped closer. Because you don't even know what you're capable of yet. And neither does your precious Alpha King. A shadow fell over them both. Cale landed between them, back in human form, blood streaking his chest. His eyes were pure gold, his wolf barely contained beneath his skin. Touch her, he said quietly, and I'll rip out your throat. You'd start a war over one Omega? Rhiannon asked. I'd end the world over her. The bond flared between them, and Sarah felt the truth of his words sink into her bones. He meant it. Every word. And that terrified her almost as much as the council did. Stand down, Cale, Darius called from the amphitheater's center. Blood dripped from a gash on his arm, but his voice remained steady. You can't fight all of us. Watch me. Or, a new voice cut in, smooth as silk and twice as deadly, you could listen to reason. Everyone turned. An old woman stood at the amphitheater's entrance, leaning on a gnarled staff. Her hair was white as snow, her eyes clouded with age, but the power radiating from her made every alpha in the clearing tense. Elder Morgana, Darius said, inclining his head with respect. This doesn't concern you. A Luna shepherd returning after 2 centuries doesn't concern me? Morgana's laugh was dry as autumn leaves. I'm the only one here old enough to remember the last one, boy. It concerns me more than anyone. She walked forward, and wolves parted before her like water. When she reached Sarah, she stopped, tilting her head. Let me see the pup, child. Sarah hesitated, but something in the old woman's face made her comply. She held out the trembling white pup. Morgana's clouded eyes swept over it, and her expression shifted into something Sarah couldn't read. This pup, she said slowly, where did it come from? I don't know. It appeared when I called. Did it? Morgana's gnarled fingers brushed the pup's fur, and it whimpered. Interesting. Very interesting indeed. What is it? Cale demanded. Morgana looked at him, then at Sarah, then back at the pup. When she spoke, her voice carried across the entire amphitheater. This pup is blood-marked. Silence crashed down like a wave. Impossible, Rhiannon breathed. Blood-marking died out with the old packs. Clearly not. Morgana gestured to the pup's left ear. Look closely. Sarah turned the pup's head and saw it, a mark she'd missed before. A tiny symbol, dark against the white fur, shaped like a crescent moon bisected by a star. What does it mean? Sarah whispered. It means this pup was chosen before birth to carry a sacred duty. Morgana's eyes found Sarah's. And it means you didn't call just any lost pup, girl. You called a guardian. The world tilted. Guardians are legends, Darius said, but his voice wavered with uncertainty. Stories to scare young wolves. Everything is a legend until it isn't. Morgana tapped her staff against the stone. The blood-marked are born to protect shepherds. One appears for each shepherd who awakens, drawn by instinct and ancient magic older than our kind. Sarah looked down at the pup in her arms. It gazed back at her with those 2 knowing eyes. Mine, the bond whispered. Yours. Bound. If the pup is a guardian, Cale said carefully, then that changes things. It changes everything, Morgana agreed. Because guardians don't appear for weak shepherds or false ones. They appear for shepherds who will reshape the world. Her gaze swept the council. Like it or not, this girl is the real thing. And trying to cage her would be like trying to cage the moon itself. Then what do you suggest? Darius asked. I suggest you let her prove herself. Morgana smiled. Give her a task. Something that requires the gift, something that benefits all packs. If she succeeds, you grant her freedom. If she fails, she submits to your judgment. What kind of task? Rhiannon asked suspiciously. Morgana's smile widened. The southern packs have been losing pups for 3 months. 12 vanished, no scent trails, no witnesses. Some say rogues. Others say something worse. She looked at Sarah. Find them. Bring them home. Prove the gift can heal instead of harm. Sarah's heart hammered. 12 pups? I don't even know where to start. You'll figure it out. You have 3 weeks. Morgana's expression sobered. But know this, child. If you fail, if even one pup dies because you couldn't control the gift, the council will have no choice. You'll be bound and contained for the rest of your life. That's not fair, Kale snarled. Fair doesn't exist for wolves like her, Morgana said bluntly. Only survival. Only choice. She looked at Sarah. What say you, shepherd? Will you accept the task? Every instinct screamed at Sarah to refuse. She'd barely learned to use the gift, barely understood what she was. How could she find 12 missing pups when she couldn't even release one? But then she felt the white pup's heartbeat against her chest, steady and trusting. Felt the bond connecting her to the 23 other pups waiting in the valley. Felt Kale's presence beside her, fierce and unwavering. She wasn't alone anymore. And maybe that was enough. I accept, Sarah said. The council murmured, some with approval, others with clear disappointment. Darius nodded slowly. 3 weeks. Not a day more. And Kale goes with you. I wasn't planning on letting her go alone, Kale said coldly. Mira too, Rhiannon added. As the council's observer. To ensure there's no manipulation. Kale looked ready to argue, but Sarah touched his arm. The contact sent heat racing through the bond, and his eyes snapped to hers. Let them watch, she projected. We have nothing to hide. His jaw clenched, but he nodded. Fine, he said. 3 weeks. We find the pups, we bring them home, and then this is done. Then it's settled. Morgana tapped her staff once more. The council is adjourned. And Shepherd? She caught Sarah's eye. A word of warning. Whoever is taking those pups knows what they're doing. They're covering their tracks, using magic to hide their scent. Which means they're either very smart or very desperate. Or both, Mira muttered. Indeed. Morgana's expression darkened. Watch your backs. And trust your bond. It will guide you when nothing else can. She turned and walked away, leaving Sarah standing in the center of the amphitheater with a guardian pup in her arms, an alpha king at her side, and a task that could determine whether she lived or died. Kale's hand found hers, his fingers threading through her own. We'll find them, he said quietly. Sarah looked up at him, saw the absolute certainty in his golden eyes. And for the first time since this nightmare began, she let herself believe him. Yes, she whispered. We will. But as they left the amphitheater, as the council dispersed and the sun climbed higher in the sky, Sarah couldn't shake one terrible thought. What if the pups didn't want to be found? What if they'd been taken for a reason? And what if that reason had everything to do with her? The first pup scent led them to a place where wolves went to die. Sarah stood at the edge of the barren hollows, a stretch of dead forest where trees grew twisted and black, their branches reaching toward the sky like skeletal fingers. The air tasted wrong, metallic and bitter, like old blood mixed with ash. This place feels evil, Mira said, her hand on her sword hilt. Because it is, Kale replied, his eyes scanning the darkness between the trees. A battle was fought here 50 years ago. Dark magic was used. The land never recovered. Sarah clutched the white guardian pup closer. They'd been tracking for 2 weeks, following faint threads of connection that pulled at her gift like whispers in the dark. 9 pups found so far, each one traumatized, each one bearing the same strange mark on their left shoulder, a brand shaped like a shattered moon. 3 pups still missing. And all the trails led here. I can feel them, Sarah whispered. The bond tugged at her chest, insistent, desperate. They're close. They're terrified. Then we go in, Kale said. Together. They moved into the hollows as one unit. Kale in front, Mira guarding the rear, Sarah in the middle with her guardian pup alert in her arms. The 23 other pups they'd rescued waited in Kale's territory under heavy guard, safe but not whole. Not until the last 3 came home. The deeper they went, the stronger the pull became. Sarah could feel the missing pups now, their fear bleeding through the bond like acid. They were calling for her, screaming silently into the void. Hold on, she projected. I'm coming. A whimper answered, so faint she almost missed it. There, she pointed to a collapsed cave entrance half hidden by dead vines. Cale shifted immediately, his black wolf form massive in the dying light. He tore through the vines with brutal efficiency, revealing a passage that descended into darkness. Mira lit a torch. I hate caves. I hate everything about this, Sarah muttered, but she followed Cale into the tunnel anyway. The passage wound deeper, the air growing colder with each step. Strange symbols were carved into the walls, glowing faintly with a sickly green light. Sarah's wolf recoiled from them, recognizing danger even if she didn't understand the language. Old magic, Mira said quietly. Really old. These runes are designed to suppress shifter abilities. That's why we couldn't track them properly, Cale growled in her mind. Someone didn't want the pups found. They reached a chamber at the tunnel's end, and Sarah's heart stopped. 3 pups hung suspended in cages made of the same glowing runes, their small bodies limp, unconscious. But that wasn't what made her blood turn to ice. It was the woman standing beneath them. She was beautiful in a terrible way, her silver hair flowing like water, her eyes completely black. Power radiated from her in waves that made Sarah's knees weak. Finally, the woman said, her voice like silk over razors. The shepherd arrives. Cale moved in front of Sarah, teeth bared. Let the pups go. Why would I do that? I went through so much trouble to collect them. The woman's smile was cold. 12 perfect little vessels, each one touched by the shepherd's gift. Do you have any idea how valuable that makes them? Vessels for what? Sarah demanded. For power, of course. The woman gestured to the runes. The gift you carry, it's not just connection. It's pure life force, channeled through bonds. If I can harvest that energy from the pups you've touched, I can become immortal. Unkillable. Horror crashed through Sarah. You're insane. I'm practical. The woman's black eyes glittered. Your gift has been wasted for centuries, used for sentiment and mercy. But I understand its true purpose. You're not a healer, shepherd. You're a battery. And these pups are my conductors. Cale lunged. The woman flicked her wrist, and he slammed into the wall hard enough to crack stone. Mira attacked from the side, but vines erupted from the ground, wrapping around her legs, dragging her down. Stop. Sarah screamed. The guardian pup leaped from her arms, racing toward the cages. The woman laughed. Even the guardian knows. This was always inevitable. The moment you woke your gift, you painted a target on every pup you touched. They're all mine now. Just like you will be. No. Sarah's wolf surged forward, and for the first time, she didn't fight it. She let it rise, let the gift blaze to life like a star igniting in her chest. The bonds connecting her to all 26 pups, the 3 in cages, the 23 in Cale's territory, they all flared simultaneously. She could feel them, every heartbeat, every breath, every thread of trust they'd placed in her. And she realized something the woman didn't know. The bonds weren't just one way. You're right, Sarah said, her voice steady despite her terror. I am a battery. But you forgot something important. Oh? What's that? Batteries can overload. Sarah reached for every bond at once and pulled. Power flooded through her, not just from the 3 trapped pups but from all 26. Their strength, their will to survive, their absolute faith in her, it crashed through the bonds like a tidal wave. The runes on the cages shattered. The pups fell, and the guardian caught them with impossible speed, dragging them away from the woman's reach. The surge of power kept coming, building in Sarah's chest until she felt like she'd explode. The woman's eyes widened with shock, then greed. Yes, she hissed. Give it to me. But Sarah wasn't giving. She was sharing. She spun toward Cale, still pinned against the wall, and shoved half the power through their bond. His eyes blazed gold, and he roared, breaking free of the invisible force holding him. He shifted mid-leap, and this time when he hit the woman, she felt it. Blood sprayed. Mira tore free of the vines, her blade already swinging. Together, she and Cale drove the woman back, their attacks coordinated, brutal. But the woman was strong. She threw them off, magic crackling around her like lightning. You think you've won? She screamed at Sarah. You've only delayed the inevitable. There are others like me, others who know what you are, what you can do. They'll come for you, they'll take everything you love, and they'll use your gift until there's nothing left. Then they'll have to go through me first, Kale snarled. He lunged again, and this time Mira was ready. Her blade found the woman's throat. The sorceress fell, black blood pooling beneath her. Silence crashed down. Sarah collapsed, the power drain leaving her hollow. Kale was at her side instantly, catching her before she hit the ground. I've got you, he murmured. You're safe. But Sarah barely heard him. She was staring at the dead woman, at the words still echoing in her mind. There are others like me. Kale, she whispered. This isn't over. I know. His arms tightened around her. But you're alive. The pups are alive. That's what matters right now. The 3 rescued pups stumbled over, weak but conscious. The guardian pup shepherded them toward Sarah, and she gathered them close despite her exhaustion. All 12 pups accounted for. The task complete. But as they made their way out of the hollows, as the dead trees gave way to living forest, Sarah couldn't shake the dread settling into her bones. The woman had been right about one thing. This was only the beginning. And somewhere out there, others were watching, waiting, planning. Hunting for the shepherd who'd just proven exactly how powerful she could be. The council's verdict came 3 days later, and it wasn't what Sarah expected. Banishment? Kale's voice was deadly quiet. She completed your task. She brought every pup home alive. And in doing so, Darius said from his seat in the amphitheater, she revealed power that threatens the balance of every pack in the territories. We felt it, Kale. Every alpha, every wolf within 100 miles felt her pull those bonds. That kind of power cannot go unchecked. Sarah stood in the center of the stone circle, 26 pups gathered behind her like a small army. The guardian pup sat at her feet, teeth bared at the council. So you're punishing her for being strong? Mira demanded. That's rich, coming from alphas who execute weakness. We're protecting the territories, Rhiannon said coldly. The sorceress was right. Others will come for the shepherd. And when they do, they'll bring war to our doorsteps. Unless she's gone. Gone where? Sarah asked, her voice hollow. She'd known this was coming, felt it in the way the council had avoided her eyes when she'd returned. You want me to just disappear? We want you beyond our borders, Darius said. Far enough that your gift doesn't call to our wolves. Far enough that when the hunters come, they don't tear through our packs to reach you. You're sentencing her to death, Kale said flatly. She can't survive alone. Not with 26 pups and enemies hunting her. The pups stay here, Rhiannon said. They'll be distributed among the packs, raised properly. No. The word tore from Sarah's throat. You can't take them. They're mine. They're not yours. They never were. Darius stood, his expression almost sympathetic. The bonds you've formed, they're unnatural. Breaking them will hurt, but the pups will heal. They'll forget you eventually. That's a lie. Sarah's hand shook. The bonds don't break. I tried. You saw me try. Then we'll use magic to sever them, Rhiannon said. Elder Morgana has agreed to perform the ritual. Betrayal cut through Sarah like a blade. Morgana agreed to this? She understands necessity, Darius said. As should you. This is the only way to keep the pack safe. Safe? Kale's laugh was bitter. You're cowards hiding behind protocol. She saved those pups. She proved the gift can heal. And you're throwing her away because you're terrified of what she represents. What she represents is chaos, Darius snapped. A shepherd with your bond, Kale, that's a powder keg waiting to explode. You know it as well as I do. Kale's jaw clenched, but he didn't deny it. The silence that followed was deafening. Sarah looked at him, saw the conflict warring in his golden eyes. He wanted to fight this, wanted to burn the council to ash. But he was also an alpha king, bound by laws older than any of them. And she was just an omega who'd gotten too powerful. When do I leave? Sarah asked quietly. No, Kale started, but she cut him off with a look. When, she repeated. Tonight, Darius said. Before word spreads further. Elder Morgana will perform the severing at sundown. You'll have until dawn to be beyond our borders. 6 hours. 6 hours to say goodbye to everything she'd fought for, everything she'd become. The pups whimpered behind her, sensing her despair through the bonds. Can I have a moment with them? Sarah asked. Alone? The council exchanged glances, then Darius nodded. 1 hour. Then Morgana comes. They filed out, leaving Sarah alone in the amphitheater with the pups and her shattered heart. Cale lingered at the entrance, his expression tortured. I'll find a way to fix this, he said. I swear to you, Sarah. I'll find a way. Don't. She couldn't look at him. If she did, she'd break completely. You're an alpha king. You have responsibilities. I'm nobody. You're everything, he said roughly. You're my. He didn't finish. Couldn't finish. Because they both knew what she was, what the bond was trying to make her. And they both knew it didn't matter anymore. Cale left without another word. Sarah sank to her knees, and the pups swarmed her immediately. 26 small bodies pressing close, offering comfort the only way they knew how. I'm so sorry, she whispered, tears streaming down her face. I tried so hard to keep you safe. The guardian pup licked her cheek, and through the bond, she felt his message, not your fault. Never your fault. But it was. She'd been too weak to fight the council, too afraid to refuse their task. And now she was losing everything. An hour passed like seconds. Morgana entered the amphitheater, her staff tapping against stone. She looked older than before, wearier. Child, she said gently. It's time. Will it hurt them? Sarah asked. Yes. But they'll survive. Morgana's clouded eyes held something like regret. And so will you. I don't want to survive without them. I know. The old woman knelt beside her with surprising grace. But sometimes survival is the only gift we can give. Hold on to that. Morgana began to chant, words in a language Sarah didn't recognize. The air shimmered, and pain lanced through her chest as the first bond began to fray. She gasped, clutching at the threads desperately. Please, don't. Please. But Morgana didn't stop. One by one, the bonds began to sever. Each break felt like losing a piece of her soul, like dying in slow motion. The pups cried out, their pain echoing through what remained of the connections. Sarah screamed. And through the agony, she felt Cale's presence explode in her mind. He was running, racing toward the amphitheater, his fury and desperation crashing through their bond like a storm. Hold on, he commanded. I'm coming. Just hold on. But he was too late. Morgana reached the final bond, the one connecting Sarah to her guardian pup, and hesitated. This one is different, she murmured. This one won't break. Try harder, Sarah sobbed. I am trying. But guardian bonds are sacred, forged in ancient magic. I don't have the power to, wait. Morgana's eyes widened. No. This can't be. What? What is it? The guardian bond, it's connected to something else. Something older. Morgana's hands trembled on her staff. Child, when did you first shift? I don't, 3 years ago. Right before the rejection. And the rejection, what exactly did your alpha say? Sarah's throat tightened. That I was defective. Weak. That my wolf was broken and I'd never be worthy of the pack. He lied. Morgana's voice was sharp. Or he didn't know. Your wolf isn't broken, Sarah. It's dormant. Because you're not just a Luna shepherd. The world tilted. What are you talking about? Morgana looked at her with something like awe. You're a true Luna. The first in 300 years. And your alpha, your true mate, he's been standing in front of you this entire time. Cale burst into the amphitheater, shifted mid-run, his wolf form magnificent and terrifying. He skidded to a stop when he saw them, his golden eyes locking on Sarah's. And the bond between them exploded. Not the half-formed connection they'd been dancing around. The real bond. Ancient, unbreakable, seared into their very souls. Sarah felt it slam into place, felt every wall she'd built come crashing down. Felt Cale's shock, his recognition, his absolute certainty that she was his and he was hers and nothing in heaven or earth could change that. Impossible, Morgana breathed. The council, they'll never allow this. Cale shifted back to human form, his eyes never leaving Sarah's. Then they can try to stop us, he said quietly. Because I'm not losing her. Not to them. Not to anyone. He crossed the distance between them and pulled Sarah into his arms. The mate bond sang. And somewhere in the distance, war drums began to beat. Because the Alpha King had just chosen his true Luna. And the council would burn before they tore them apart. The council army arrived at dawn. Sarah stood on the walls of Cale's fortress, watching as hundreds of wolves gathered in the valley below. Alphas from every territory, their warriors spread across the landscape like a living shadow. They'd come to break the bond. Or die trying. We can still run, Mira said beside her. I know passages through the mountains. We could be gone before they breach the gates. No more running. Sarah's hand moved to her stomach, where the mate bond pulsed warm and certain. She could feel Cale 3 floors below, preparing his own warriors, his determination bleeding through their connection. We end this today. The guardian pup sat at her feet, grown larger overnight. The moment the true mate bond had completed, something had shifted in him too. He was nearly the size of a full wolf now, his white fur gleaming silver in the dawn light. They won't take you, he projected fiercely. I'll tear through them all first. You won't have to, a voice said behind them. Sarah turned to find Elder Morgana climbing the wall stairs, moving faster than someone her age should manage. I thought you sided with the council, Sarah said coldly. I sided with survival. But I was wrong. Morgana reached the wall top, breathing hard. I spent all night in the old archives. Do you know why True Luna stopped appearing 3 centuries ago? Sarah shook her head. Because the councils killed them. Every single one. Morgana's clouded eyes blazed with fury. They were too powerful, too unpredictable. A true Luna bonded to an alpha creates a force that can't be controlled. So they hunted them down, wiped them from existence, and rewrote history to hide what they'd done. Horror crawled up Sarah's spine. How many? 17. 17 true Lunas murdered before they could come into their full power. Before they could change our world. Morgana stepped closer. But you, child, you're different. You survived the rejection that should have killed you. You woke your shepherd gift when it should have stayed dormant. And now you've bonded with the strongest alpha in 3 generations. What are you saying? I'm saying you're not just a true Luna. You're the prophesied one. The Luna who will either unite all wolves under one banner or watch our species tear itself apart. Morgana's hand gripped her staff so tight her knuckles went white. And I'm saying I was a fool to help the council try to break you. Below, Darius's voice boomed across the valley. Cale Thorn. Send out the Omega, and we'll let your pack live. Sarah's wolf snarled. I need to go down there, she said. That's suicide, Mira snapped. No. Sarah turned to face them both. It's the only way to end this without slaughter. They want me? Let them face me. Let them see what a true Luna really is. Morgana's expression shifted to approval. You'll need your full power. I don't know how to access it. Yes, you do. You've been accessing it all along, you just didn't know what it was. Morgana pointed to the 26 pups gathered in the courtyard below. The bonds you formed, they're not separate from your Luna power. They're the source of it. A true Luna doesn't rule through fear or strength. She rules through connection. Through love. The words resonated deep in Sarah's chest. The pups, she whispered. They're not just bonded to me. They're amplifying my power. Exactly. And with your mate bond to Cale complete, you have access to his strength too. Morgana smiled grimly. You're not an Omega anymore, Sarah. You're something the council has spent centuries trying to destroy. Your hope. Sarah closed her eyes and reached for the bonds. All of them. The 26 pups, the guardian, and the blazing golden thread connecting her to Cale. Power flooded through her like starlight. Her eyes snapped open, glowing silver. Tell Kale to hold the warriors back, she said, her voice echoing with something ancient. This is my fight now. She walked down the stairs, through the fortress, the guardian pup at her side. Wolves stopped to stare as she passed, their eyes widening at the power radiating from her skin. Kale met her at the main gate. What are you doing? He demanded, but his protest died when he saw her eyes. Sarah. I'm ending this. She cupped his face, and the mate bond flared so bright it hurt. Trust me. Always, he breathed. But I'm going with you. No. They need to see me alone. They need to understand I'm not hiding behind you. She kissed him once, fierce and claiming. But stay close. If this goes wrong, if I can't control it, promise me you'll run. Take the pups and run. I'm not promising that. Kale, please. His jaw clenched, but he stepped back. I'll be watching. The moment they attack, I'm there. I know. She smiled, even though her heart was hammering. That's why I can do this. The gates opened. Sarah walked out alone, the guardian pup matching her stride. Behind her, she felt 26 more pups slip through the gates despite Kale's protests. They formed a protective circle around her, their small bodies radiating defiance. The council army went silent. Sarah stopped 30 feet from Darius, her head high. You came for me, she called out. Here I am. Stand down, Omega, Darius commanded. The bond between you and Kale is illegal. It threatens the balance of power across all territories. I'm not an Omega. Sarah's voice carried across the valley, amplified by power she was still learning to wield. I'm a true Luna. And the only thing I threaten is your control. Gasps rippled through the army. Rhiannon stepped forward, her expression twisted with fury. True Lunas are extinct. You're lying. Am I? Sarah raised her hands, and the bonds blazed to life, visible now as threads of silver light connecting her to every pup, to Kale standing at the gates, to the very earth beneath her feet. Or are you just terrified of what I represent? You represent chaos, Darius snarled. The last true Luna started a war that killed thousands. No. Morgana's voice rang out from the fortress walls. The last true Luna tried to stop a war. And you murdered her for it. Just like you've murdered every Luna who dared to challenge your authority. The army shifted uneasily. Is that true? A voice called from the ranks. A younger alpha, his face uncertain. Does it matter? Rhiannon snapped. She's too dangerous to live. You all felt her power 3 days ago. Imagine that strength turned against us. Why would I turn against you? Sarah demanded. All I've ever wanted is to protect pups. To help the lost find home. How is that dangerous? Because you could use that gift to steal loyalty from every pack. Rhiannon's control was cracking. You could turn our own wolves against us with a thought. I could, Sarah agreed quietly. But I won't. Because unlike you, I don't rule through fear. She reached for the bonds, and this time, she didn't just pull power. She shared it. Every wolf in the valley gasped as warmth flooded through them. Not control, not compulsion, just pure connection. The feeling of being seen, valued, protected. The feeling of belonging. Tears streaked down hardened warriors' faces. Even Darius stumbled back, his expression shocked. This is what a true Luna does, Sarah said softly. I don't take. I give. I don't break bonds. I forge them. And I will spend every day of my life proving to you that I am not your enemy. Pretty words, Rhiannon hissed. But her voice wavered. Not words. Truth. Sarah looked across the army, meeting as many eyes as she could. I know you're afraid. I know the stories say true Lunas bring destruction. But what if the stories are wrong? What if we bring unity instead? Unity under your rule, Darius said, but the fight had gone out of his voice. Unity under our rule. All of us. Alphas, betas, omegas, working together instead of fighting for scraps of power. Sarah held out her hand to him. I'm offering you a choice. Stand with me, or stand against me. But know that if you choose war, you're not just fighting me. You're fighting every wolf who's tired of living in fear. Silence blanketed the valley. Then, slowly, an alpha from the back rank stepped forward. "I'm tired of fear," he said. "I'll stand with the true Luna." Another alpha joined him. Then another. Rhiannon's face went white with rage. "You're all fools." "No," Darius said quietly, his eyes on Sarah. "We've been fools for 3 centuries. Killing what we should have protected. Burying what we should have celebrated." He knelt, placing his hand over his heart. "I pledge my pact to the true Luna." The army erupted. Some knelt. Others roared approval. A few turned and walked away, unwilling to accept the change. But enough stayed. Enough believed. Cale was at Sarah's side in an instant, pulling her into his arms as the weight of what she'd just done crashed over her. "You did it," he murmured against her hair. "You beautiful, terrifying woman. You actually did it." Sarah's legs gave out, and he caught her, holding her upright as the pups swarmed around them. "Is it over?" she whispered. "No," Morgana said, approaching with her staff. "This is just the beginning. But for the first time in centuries, it's a beginning filled with hope." Sarah looked across the valley at the wolves gathering, at the alpha swearing loyalty, at the future spreading out before them like dawn breaking over mountains. And for the first time since her rejection, she believed she might actually survive this. Not just survive. Thrive. The attack came during the bonding ceremony. 3 days after the council's surrender, Sarah stood in the great hall of Cale's fortress, surrounded by wolves from every territory. They'd come to witness the official recognition of the true Luna, to pledge their loyalty, to celebrate the new era. They'd come to watch her die. The explosion ripped through the eastern wall first. Sarah felt it through the bonds, a scream of agony from the guards stationed there, cut short as fire consumed them. Then the western wall erupted, and the northern. "Ambush!" Cale roared, shifting instantly. But the enemy was already inside. They poured through the breaches like a black tide, wolves with eyes that glowed sickly green, their movements jerky and wrong. Behind them came figures in dark robes, hands crackling with the same magic that had powered the sorceress in the hollows. "Necromancers," Morgana spat, her staff blazing to life. "They've raised the dead. Get the Luna to safety." But Sarah wasn't running. She could feel them through the bonds, feel the corruption poisoning what should have been wolves. They weren't alive. They were puppets, animated by dark magic, sent to slaughter everyone she loved. And she could feel the source. Deep beneath the fortress, something ancient pulsed with malevolent power. A heartbeat that shouldn't exist, fueling the army above. "There's something in the catacombs," Sarah gasped, grabbing Cale's arm as he prepared to charge. "Something controlling them. If we don't stop it at the source, they'll keep coming." His golden eyes blazed. "Then we go together." "No." She cupped his face, the mate bond singing between them. "You hold them here. Keep our people alive. I'll end this." "Sarah, you can't face a necromancer alone." "I won't be alone." She looked down at the guardian pup, now fully grown, his white fur gleaming like starlight. "I have him. And I have this." She placed her hand over her heart, where the bonds to 26 pups and 1 alpha king burned bright as suns. Cale's jaw clenched, every instinct screaming at him to keep her close. But he was an alpha king, and he knew strategy. 5 minutes, he growled. "You have 5 minutes, then I'm coming after you. Make it 10. She kissed him fierce and desperate. "I love you. In case I don't get to say it after." "You will," he promised. "Because you're coming back to me." Then he shifted and threw himself into the battle, a black hurricane of claws and fury. Mira appeared at Sarah's side, blood already staining her blade. "I'm going with you. The hall needs you. They have Cale. You have me. Move." She grabbed Sarah's arm and hauled her toward the stairwell leading down. They descended into darkness, the guardian pup leading the way. The temperature dropped with each step, and the air grew thick with the stench of decay and dark magic. The catacombs stretched beneath the fortress like a maze, but Sarah didn't need directions. The corrupted heartbeat pulled at her like a hook in her chest, leading her deeper, darker. They found the chamber at the maze's heart. A woman stood in the center of a ritual circle drawn in blood, her hands raised, power crackling around her like lightning. She was younger than the sorceress from the hollows, but her eyes held the same terrible hunger. And surrounding her were 12 figures in chains. Pups. Not the ones Sarah had saved. These were different, older, their bodies marked with the same shattered moon brand. Their eyes were vacant, their mouths open in silent screams as their life force drained into the circle. No, Sarah breathed. The necromancer's smile was vicious. Finally. The true Luna arrives. I was beginning to think you'd let your mate die protecting you. Let them go, Sarah demanded. Why would I? They're perfect conduits. Young enough to hold power, broken enough to not resist. The necromancer gestured to the pups. These were the rejects, the defectives, the ones their packs threw away. Just like you were. But unlike you, they stayed broken. Made them easy to collect. Rage ignited in Sarah's chest. You're killing them. I'm using them. There's a difference. The necromancer's hands glowed brighter. Your gift, your precious bonds, they're wasted on mercy. But I understand their true purpose. With the power I'm draining from these pups, I'll live forever. And when I'm done with them, I'll take yours. All 26 of them. Imagine what I could do with that much life force. You'll have to kill me first. Obviously. The necromancer laughed. Did you think I orchestrated this entire attack just to chat? My army keeps your wolves busy upstairs while I harvest you down here. By the time they realize you're gone, it'll be too late. Myra's blade whispered from its sheath. Not if I get you first. Please try. The necromancer flicked her wrist, and shadows erupted from the walls. Mira met them with steel and fury, her blade singing through the darkness. The guardian pup leaped to join her, his jaws closing around shadow throats, tearing through magic like it was flesh. But the necromancer's attention was already back on Sarah. You feel it, don't you? She purred. The pull. Those pups in the circle, they're calling to you. Begging you to save them. Go ahead. Form the bonds. Take them into your heart. Sarah's hands trembled. She could feel them, 12 broken souls crying out for help, for a connection, for the one thing that might save them. But she could also feel the trap. The moment I bond with them, you'll use those connections to drain me, Sarah said. Very good. Yes, the bonds work both ways. You give power, but you also receive. And if what you're receiving is corruption and death, well. The necromancer shrugged. You'll burn out from the inside. Beautiful, really. There has to be another way. There isn't. So choose, true Luna. Save the pups and die, or save yourself and let them burn. Either way, I win. Sarah looked at the 12 pups, saw the life draining from their eyes. She thought of the 26 who trusted her, who believed in her. She thought of Kale, fighting above to protect them all. And she made her choice. You're right, Sarah said quietly. The bonds work both ways. She reached for the 12 pups and pulled them into her heart. The bond snapped into place, click click click, 12 threads of light connecting her to 12 dying souls. And with them came the corruption, the darkness, the death the necromancer had been feeding them. It slammed into Sarah like a tidal wave. She screamed as poison flooded her veins, as the necromancer's trap closed around her heart. Her knees hit the stone, her vision going black. Yes, the necromancer shrieked. Die, Luna. Feed me your power. But Sarah wasn't dying. She was transforming. Because the necromancer had made one critical mistake, she assumed the true Luna would fight the corruption alone. Sarah reached through her mate bond, through the connections to her 26 pups, and she didn't just ask for help. She demanded it. Power flooded back through the bonds, pure and clean and blazing with life. 26 pups and one alpha king poured their strength into her, and Sarah became a conduit not for death, but for something far more powerful. Love. She stood, her eyes glowing pure silver, and reached for the 12 corrupted bonds. Then she purified them. The darkness burned away like mist and sunlight. The pups in chains gasped as color returned to their faces, as life flooded back into their bodies. The ritual circle shattered, and the necromancer stumbled back, her face twisted in disbelief. Impossible. You should be dead. Sarah said, her voice echoing with power. 3 years ago, my pack killed who I was. But I came back stronger. And you just made the same mistake they did. She raised her hand, and the bonds blazed. You assumed broken things can't heal. You assumed rejected wolves have no value. You assumed a true Luna rules through fear. Sarah stepped forward, and the necromancer retreated. But I rule through connection. Through trust. Through the unbreakable truth that we are stronger together. The 12 freed pups rose, their eyes glowing silver like hers. They attacked as one. The necromancer screamed as teeth and claws found her flesh, as the very pups she'd tried to drain tore her magic apart. Her shadows dissolved, her power fractured, and when the pups finally stepped back, she collapsed in a pool of her own blood. This isn't over, she gasped. There are more of us. We'll keep coming. We'll never stop until every Luna is ash. Then we'll be ready, Sarah said quietly. Because you taught me something important today. You can't kill what refuses to stay dead. The necromancer's eyes went dark. Silence fell. Sarah collapsed, and Mira caught her. I've got you. The pups are safe. You did it. Above, the sounds of battle were fading. The undead army, severed from their source, were falling like puppets with cut strings. The guardian pup pressed against Sarah's side, and through the bonds, she felt Kale racing toward her, felt his relief and pride and overwhelming love. She'd won. They'd all won. But as the 12 freed pups gathered around her, as their new bond settled into her heart, Sarah knew one thing with absolute certainty. This wasn't the end. It was the beginning of a war that would test everything she'd become. And she was ready. 6 months later, the world had changed. Sarah stood on the balcony of the newly built Luna's Hall, watching as wolves from 12 different territories gathered in the valley below. Not for war this time. For celebration. The first unified gathering in 300 years. You're smiling, Kale said, wrapping his arms around her from behind. That's a good look on you. I'm happy. She leaned back against his chest, the mate bond humming contentedly between them. Is that allowed? After everything you've survived? I'd say you've earned it. He pressed a kiss to her temple. Though Mira says you're getting soft. Mira says a lot of things. Sarah laughed as the warrior in question appeared below, attempting to organize a chaotic game involving 38 pups and what looked like a stolen banner. But she's not wrong. I am softer now. Happier. Good. Kale turned her in his arms, his golden eyes warm. You deserve happiness, Sarah. You've given it to so many others. It was true. In the 6 months since the necromancer's attack, Sarah had traveled to every pack in the territories. She'd found the lost pups, the rejected ones, the wolves who'd been cast aside like she once was. And she'd shown them what the true Luna's bond really meant, unconditional acceptance, unwavering protection, and the promise that they would never be alone again. The 38 pups bonded to her had become a symbol of hope across the territories. A living testament that broken things could heal, that the rejected could become invaluable. And slowly, carefully, the packs had begun to change. The eastern packs want to establish a sanctuary, Kale said, his fingers threading through her hair. A place where rejected wolves can go instead of exile. They're asking for your blessing. They don't need my blessing. They want it anyway. You're the true Luna, Sarah. Your word carries weight now. She still wasn't used to it. The respect, the reverence, the way wolves bowed their heads when she passed. Sometimes she missed being invisible, being nobody. But then she'd feel the bonds, all 38 of them, pulsing with life and love and absolute trust, and she'd remember why she'd accepted this role. Tell them yes, she said. And tell them I'll visit once it's built. I want to make sure it's a home, not another prison. Kale smiled. I'll send word today. Below, Elder Morgana appeared, her staff tapping as she made her way through the crowd. She'd become Sarah's advisor, teaching her the old ways, the forgotten history of true Lunas before the councils had tried to erase them. The ceremony starts in an hour, Morgana called up. You should prepare, child. Right. The ceremony. Today, Sarah would officially unite the territories under a new law, the Luna's Accord. It declared that no wolf could be rejected without just cause, that pups would be protected across all pack lines, and that the true Luna's word would stand equal to any alphas. Some packs had resisted. A few alphas had left rather than submit to the new order. But most had stayed. Because they'd seen what Sarah could do. They'd felt the power of true unity. And they wanted to be part of something bigger than their own territories. "Are you nervous?" Kale asked as they walked back inside. Terrified, Sarah admitted. "What if I fail them? What if I make the wrong choice and everything falls apart? Then we'll rebuild. Together." He stopped, cupping her face. "You don't have to be perfect, Sarah. You just have to be you. That's always been enough." "How are you so sure?" "Because I've watched you turn a death sentence into a destiny. I've seen you heal wounds that should have been fatal. And I've felt, every single day through our bond, the strength of your heart." His thumb brushed her cheek. "You are the most powerful wolf I've ever known. Not because of your gift. Because of your choice to use it for good." Tears stung her eyes. "I love you. Did I mention that today?" "Not yet. But I never get tired of hearing it." "I love you," she repeated, pulling him down for a kiss that made the bond flare bright as starfire. "My mate. My alpha. My home. And you're mine," he murmured against her lips. "My Luna. My heart. My everything." A chorus of howls interrupted them. They pulled apart to see the 38 pups gathered below the balcony, the guardian at their head, all of them grinning with wolfish amusement. "Stop kissing and come play," the guardian projected. "The ceremony can wait." "You're a terrible influence on them," Sarah called down. "I learned from the best," he shot back. Kale laughed, the sound rich and warm. "He's not wrong. You did teach them to question authority. I taught them to think for themselves. There's a difference." "Is there?" But he was smiling as he said it. They made their way down to the valley, where preparations for the ceremony were in full swing. Alphas greeted them with respect, betas with friendship, omegas with gratitude. The territorial lines that had once divided them were blurring, becoming something new. Something better. Darius approached, his expression serious but not hostile. In the months since he'd pledged to Sarah, he'd become one of her strongest allies. "The representatives are ready," he said. "Whenever you are." Sarah took a breath. "Then let's begin." The ceremony was held in the center of the valley, beneath the open sky. 12 alphas stood in a circle, each representing their territory. Sarah moved to the center, Kale at her right, Morgana at her left. "We gathered today," Sarah began, her voice carrying across the valley, "not as separate packs, but as one people. For too long, we've let fear divide us. We've cast out our vulnerable, rejected our different, and called it strength." She looked at each alpha in turn. "But true strength isn't found in isolation. It's found in connection. In trust. In the bonds we forge with each other, not the walls we build between us." The guardian pup stepped forward, carrying a banner stitched with the symbol of the Luna's accord, a full moon surrounded by stars, each star representing a territory, all of them connected by threads of silver. "Today, we choose unity," Sarah continued. "We choose to protect the lost, shelter the rejected, and honor the truth that every wolf has value. We choose to be stronger together than we ever were apart." One by one, the alphas stepped forward and placed their hands on the banner. "I pledge my territory to the Luna's accord," Darius said first. The others followed, their voices joining in unison until all 12 had sworn. Magic shimmered in the air, ancient and pure, sealing the oath. And Sarah felt it through the bonds, felt the territories connecting, felt something new being born. Not an empire. Not a dictatorship. But a true alliance, built on mutual respect and shared purpose. When the last alpha had sworn, Kale raised his voice. "Let it be known across all territories, the true Luna has risen. The bonds are forged. And any who threaten our people will answer to all of us." A roar of approval shook the valley. And as the celebration began, as wolves from different packs mingled and laughed and played together for the first time in generations, Sarah felt something she'd never thought possible. Peace. Not perfect. Not permanent. There would be challenges ahead, enemies still lurking in the shadows, battles yet to fight. But for now, in this moment, they were whole. That evening, as the moon rose full and bright, Sarah sat surrounded by her pups. They'd grown so much, some nearly adolescents now, others still small and wild. But all of them looked at her with the same absolute trust. "Tell us the story again," the smallest one pleaded. "About how you saved us." "I didn't save you," Sarah said gently, pulling the pup into her lap. "You saved yourselves. I just reminded you that you were worth saving." "But you were rejected too," another pup said. "And you became the true Luna. So we can become anything, right?" Sarah's throat tightened. "Right. You can become anything you choose. Because being rejected doesn't define you. How you rise from it does." Kale settled beside her, adding his warmth to the circle. "Your Luna is right. And I should know. I chose her when everyone else called her worthless. Best decision I ever made." The pups giggled. And as Sarah sat there, surrounded by love and light and the bonds that had saved her life, she thought back to the broken Omega she'd been 3 years ago. The one who'd believed she had nothing left to offer. That Omega was gone. In her place stood a true Luna who'd learned the most important truth of all: you're never truly lost as long as someone is searching for you. And she would spend the rest of her life making sure no wolf ever felt abandoned again. "Story time's over," Mira announced, appearing with her usual perfect timing. "The pups need sleep, and you two need, well, I'm not saying what you need in front of children." Kale laughed. "Subtle as ever, Mira. It's my gift." As the pups reluctantly headed off to bed, the guardian lingered behind. "Thank you," he projected to Sarah. "For giving us purpose. For showing us we matter." "You always mattered," she said back. "I just helped you see it." "Then we're even. Because you helped me see it too." He bounded off after the others, leaving Sarah and Kale alone beneath the stars. "Happy?" Kale asked softly. Sarah looked at the valley, at the territories united, at the future spreading before them bright with possibility. "Yes," she said. Finally, completely, impossibly happy. And as her mate pulled her close, as the bonds hummed with contentment, Sarah knew one truth with absolute certainty. Every lost pup had chosen her. And in saving them, they'd saved her right back. And there you have it, my beautiful pack. The story of Sarah, the rejected Omega who became a true Luna. The story of love, redemption, and the unbreakable bonds that make us whole. Thank you for joining me on this journey. If this story touched your heart, hit that like button and subscribe for more tales of wolves, magic, and second chances. Remember, you are never as broken as the world tells you. You are never as worthless as rejection makes you feel. And somewhere out there, your pack is waiting. Until next time, stay wild. Stay strong. And never stop believing in your own worth.